Alright. Welcome. This is Devin from Deadly Art Gaming. For those coming for the first time, welcome. For those coming back, welcome back. Today we are going to be going over, I'm going to start a series of the in-depth breakdowns of the skills per class. Today we are going to go over the rogue. I had a member ask about it. Mike Morley had made a comment about getting a little bit more in-depth as far as the skills breakdowns and stuff like that, so kind of understand the mixing matching of skills and such per class. So this one I'm doing the first one on the rogue for him, and also I want to answer one quick question that he did have about my character sheet. Seeing that my basic attack damage is so high on this character and it's nowhere near what it's going to be or what it could be, just because I haven't finished maxing out these affixes on my gear. Essentially, I have throughout the character, there's a lot of per dagger, per sword increases. So, like if I just the chest alone, it gives me essentially between the sword and a dagger, it gives me pretty close to 100, and that's only tier 3 and tier 1. So essentially, once I max it out, it's going to be a lot higher. So you'll see if I take it off, it drops all the way to 4100. So that's a big chunk of basic damage. And what you'll see is that the reason being is that, and that I wouldn't go off this as far as the way this character's built or the way that those damage are modified. I don't even look at this number per this class because of the fact of that. It boosts up all damage through spell, melee, bow, throw, physical, all this. But now, granted, I'm not using all that, so that's not exactly what my damage is going to be because I'm not doing a lot of those damage types. Now, if I did any little bit or a lot of it, however you want to put that, it's just going to make it that much better no matter what type of damage I do. So you can see this one's my crit build, so right now it's not fully maxed out, or not maxed, but fully bumped up as far as I'm gonna have it. It's up to 769% multiplier, and that's just the base. That's not any modifiers that aren't global, like per skill type deal. So, but enough of that. We'll go ahead. If you, like I said, if you read this or see this, hope that answers your question on that end. If you have any more, just feel free to ask. I'll answer them in chat or on my Discord, or if it deems a video, I will more than happy to make one for you. So let's go ahead and get into the skills for the rogue. Start off, which is a very popular skill. It's called Flurry. Essentially, it's a bow or a melee. Now, real quick, pretty much all these skills are both bow and melee attack viable, to where you can use either or and it'll work. So they work on both melee and physical, unlike other classes where you have melee or cast or like throw or something like stuff like that. So this can be done. The flurry can be done with either or. It's a bow or melee attack that performs 3 rapid strikes. The last strike can be canceled by moving. We'll come up this way first. This node will give you attack speed. This is going to turn your flurry into channel. So it'll start out with a 0 cost, so which makes it to where you can cast as much you want, not going to cost any mana, which would pair well with where is it? Right here. Any 0 cost skills grant you health and mana. So if you bump that up to 5, that's going to be 20 health and 10 mana per hit. So pairs well with getting that. But if you're going to go channeling, that's going to add 5 mana cost per second. Now, while you're channeling, you do not regenerate mana, so this will start deteriorating your mana. If you come up here, it's going to increase your damage up to 15% extra damage max, where it goes up 3% the longer you channel. Up here will give you 8% physical and elemental resist, so that'll cap out at 40%. Then over here, we're going to have a node that will give you arrow frequency, where you'll shoot a little bit more arrows at a time, but they're going to be inaccurate, so you don't know. They're not going to be straight here, so they could misfire and not hit what you're aiming at. Now this is a big node right here. This is every 4th shot turn it shoots multi-shot for you. Whether you have it spec or not, it's going to shoot multi-shot. Now, like I said, it is going to bump up that channel cost 2 plus 15, so that'll be 15 plus 5, so that'll be 20 per tick. So it'll drink up your mana pretty quickly. And then coming up here is gonna. This is a node for your life leech. First strike will only do 1, or if you max it out, 2%. Second strike will do 2 or 4, and then third strike will be 3% to 6% if you have maxed out. Then here, Flurry grants health when hitting at least one enemy. So if you hit 1, you're going to get 4 HP unless you bump it up. And then this one will give you mana per hitting 1 enemy. Over here is going to be chance for kinetic burst on kill, 10% chance. Enemies killed by a flurry have a chance to release a kinetic burst around the target, dealing physical damage. So it'll do physical damage area around them when they chance when they die, up to 30% chance of that happening. Over here is going to be essentially more damage, so 8% per point you have in there, multiplicative with other modifiers. Critical sight chance, multiplier, your critical sight multiplier, and then heals on crit. Does not scale. Now the bottom one is it does not scale with points allocated, so this one is going to be a flat 4% per dexterity point. Down here you're going to have Crescendo. Flurry's first and second strike deal less damage, but the third strike deals more damage. So essentially 1 point in there, you can max of 3. It's 5%, negative 5% damage on the first and second strike per point in there. And then the third strike is plus 25. So if you max it out, that'll be 75%. Over here, the third strike slows enemies, so you have a 100% chance of slowing. You can max that out to 300% there. And then if you use a melee weapon, Flurry can cause Force Wave to blast enemies forward with each strike, dealing melee physical damage. So it'll do a wave in front of you. And then Force Wave travels faster here. This will give you 15% more range on it, so up to 30%. Down here is first strike can have 10% poison chance up to max of force points, so up to 40% on these. Second chance bleed, third strike poison resistance shred, and fourth strike physical resistance shred. So it'll get some shreds, resistance shreds on the enemy to help knock them down faster. This for increasing damage over time. Damage. Poison damage, increase the poison damage, and this for bleed effect, so increase there. Over here will be attack speed. This will give you attack speed per hit, so 2% per point, and then maximum attack speed of 10%. Over here, Adrenaline Rush is going to give you a buff where Flurry strikes have a chance to grant you Adrenaline Rush, granting Flurry 5% more damage and 5% increased attack speed, lasts up to 4 seconds, can stack up to 4 times. So if you put 5 points in here, that'll be 50% chance to get Adrenaline Rush, and then it's going to be, it lasts, the Adrenaline Rush lasts for 4 seconds, and you can have a max of 4 stacks, so that'll be 20% increased damage and attack speed if you have max stats. Up here is poison chance, 3% per point. and that's per stack. Down here is going to be the same thing, but for bleed. And then over here is going to be the duration of Adrenaline Rush, so it's 50% per point, so that would be up to 100%. And then max stack, you can bump that up from 4 up to a max of 7. But it's going to lower your, each point is going to lower your chance of getting Adrenaline Rush 2% each point. So that is Flurry. Shift is going to be your mobility skill. Up here, we are going into melee damage along the path. So when you're shifting down, you'll hit enemies along the way. This will give you the threshold. So as you're doing the damage, as you're going there and you finish and do your damage there, if you max that out, that'll put 15%. If, say, people are low on life or you do enough damage, they'll automatically die. Makes the strike wider. This will add Shadow Dagger chance, which Shadow Dagger essentially puts a dagger on there, and upon reaching 4 daggers, the dagger plunges into the target, dealing physical damage, and the damage is always critical strikes. So that will kind of work better on the higher tier mobs, like the bosses, the yellow mobs, the people that are named, or ones that have a lot more HP. That's where you'll see that shadow dagger damage kick in there a lot better. Just because you're having to get 4 hits on them, which most enemies, like the trash mobs, you'll kill them in 1 or 2 hits, or 3 most usually. This goes for slow duration. Over here, we'll get for non-channeling. So if you're not setting it up as channeling, you'll get your next. Sorry, I mispronounced that. Increased damage of your next damage non-channeling skill. So as long as your next skill that you're going to use is going to be some damage dealing that's not channeled, it's going to give you. I've got mine at 3, so it's 10 per point, so up to 40%. This would be head trauma, deal increased damage, and have increased stun chance when you, with your next damage non-critical shift. So this will your next damage dealing skill will not only have this, but it'll also have 75% here and stun chance. So there we go. And then this one will essentially, you have increased damage with your next non-damaging channel skills, kind of same thing as before, but you go a shorter distance. So this makes your next skill you use after you shift do a ton of damage. Then down here is bleed chance, bleed effect, bleed duration, and then always crit with next non-channeled skill. So this will just make your next, if you have like both of these, that next damage skill is going to do a ton of damage, and then it's going to crit, which will be a lot higher. But it's going to take quite a bit of points to get there. So you have to have 4 here, 1 there, so that's 5 just to put 1 point in there. So that's kind of a big trade-off to get that high number. Down here is a buff for movement speed, so it gives you 50% increase movement speed, but it only lasts for 0.5 seconds per point, so up to 1.5 seconds, which is okay. The cooldown on it's really short, so generally shift into mobs, kill them, shift to the next one to kill them, and kind of go through the map. This one will spawn a shadow at the place that you shifted from. Shadows are enemies or not enemies, but shadows of you that sit there, and their job is you have 3 skills that you can cast, which will be Acid Flask, Shadow Cascade, and Shuriken. So if you cast any one of those 3 skills, the shadows will also cast it. If you don't cast it, they'll just stand there and eventually disappear. This one will return to shadow location, so when the shadow created by shift is consumed, you return to its location. So it's kind of like volatile reversal, where if you, well, not really like that. You create a shadow, but as soon as you consume it or it falls off, you go back to that location. So it kind of can be a fail-safe. I've never really tried to play with it to really see how viable it is or useful it might be, but it definitely could get you out of some sticky situations from time to time. This is kind of nifty if you really get worried or say you're playing hardcore. This will, if you are below 50% health, you will automatically drink a health potion, because I meant most people use shift as an escape. Like if you get in the thick of things and you're starting to get wailed on and you're getting low on health, you can pop just shift out and it'll automatically heal you all at the same time for you, so you don't have to worry about it. This will give you some mana back, and then you get even more if your health is below 50% as well. This one will give you invulnerability while you're shifting, so you don't have to worry about taking damage while you're going from point A to point B. Dodge rating per dexterity. So like just 1 point is 30, up to max of 5 points in. Then acid flask on departure. This one and this one. These are good trigger spells, and this as well. Those are good trigger spells for the shadows. So you're creating a shadow, but it's also something like if you use, say, this that has it to where it spawns shadows for you, or other abilities to spawn shadows, shifting out of situations or shifting into situations, cast them, and then if you have any shadows up, they automatically cast, so they'll just do like a screen clear sometimes, depending on how your build is. And then this, you have a chance to drop an acid flask on arrival. So this one will be a departure. And then where you're gonna, so if you put 2 points in there, you're gonna do it when you leave and when you arrive. So it's 2 big pools or small pools, depending on how you have it built. Over here is shifting heals you. The heal amount granted increase with your healing effectiveness. So base is going to be 15 up to 3 points in. This is going to cast Shuriken for you up to 5 Shurikens, which my other build for this that I'm working on right now, and I'll have a build guide out for that soon, is really strong. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. This will cast the Shuriken for you. Then coming over here, healing point per point of dexterity, 1 per point, so up to 2 per dex, of course. Cooldown resets. Essentially, if a single hit deals at least 50% of your health, shift cooldown is reset. This can only occur once per 10 seconds, so you can't just sit there and find a way to just completely spam it. But could be helpful, could be useful. Over here, traveling distance basically allows you to go further, but it increases the cooldown. And then last but not least, shift will cleanse all negative elements. Puncture. Puncture is another melee physical bow attack skill. Essentially, it's extended melee jab or piercing bow attack that has a 30% to inflict bleed on hit. Bleeds inflicted by Puncture have 30% increased duration. We're going to come over here to bleed chance. Frenzy duration. Attacking with Puncture and hitting at least one enemy grants frenzy, so then you can increase the frenzy duration. Poison chance. Poison turns it into bleed, so if you're doing a bleed build, even though this is poison, you can come over here and that'll turn the poison chance into bleed. Infectious toxin, that will essentially puncture at chest to apply infectious toxin on enemy, increasing the effect of ailments on the target. So essentially the enemy takes 10% increased damage over time for 10 seconds and does not stack, so it's only going to get 1 stack of that bonus. Down here is increased damage. and a larger area. And then down here, so instead of applying bleed, the greater puncture consumes all stacks of bleed on the target, causing them to deal damage immediately and restoring health back per stack consumed. So essentially, the stacks of bleed that you put on them, it will consume it, where it does all that damage instantly instead of over time. And then, as far as whatever your duration is, all that. So, and then also it will heal you per stack that you do consume. Up here is bleed chance, 15% per point. Max bleeding fury max stack of 3. Duration of 3 seconds as well. Those do not go any higher with any more points in there. It's a buff that grants bleeding chance and stacks up to 3 times. Each stack falls off after 3 seconds. Then over here, you can increase those stacks to get more stacks. Over here is physical resistance shred. Bow hit damage per pierce. So deals more damage per hit per enemy pierce. So if it pierce 2 enemies, it will be more. And then if you pierce 3, it'll be even higher. Melee range for the melee. Shred armor chance and effect. And then shadow dagger chance. Over here is going to be Puncture deals more damage per unique negative element on the target. So the more like bleed, poison, ignite, all those negative elements on there, it'll do even more damage. So you'd want to get that if you're doing like an more element build, as much elements as you can put on them. You'd want to get this as high as possible. That way it counts more individual elements. This will increase hit damage against slowed enemies, so if they're slow or immobilized, it'll do more damage to them. Increased hit damage per stack of slow, and then immobilize on hit. And then over here, damage increase 12% per point. Attack speed is slower though. Then Puncture causes several mirages to briefly appear at either side of you, attacking at the same direction as you. So you'll have 2 mimics of you that will stand next to you, but it'll go from a 0 cost to 15 mana cost each hit. This will convert your bleed to poison and physical to poison shred chance. And then we got melee range per second charged. And then, melee or bow, both ways. And then damage per second. So if you charge up the skill and then let it go, the higher, the more damage it will do. Charging speed, and then blind on hit. This is also very, I actually found, as far as like the puncture, I've actually seen one person actually make a build around it. I haven't got to watch it just yet to see how viable it is or how good. I played with it a couple times. I didn't really care for it too much myself, but I might be able to make something out of it because of this, how much it can do. Smoke bomb is a very useful skill. Essentially, it throws a smoke bomb around you, granting blinds enemies around you and grants you haste while you remain inside. It grows in size as it sits there. This one will slow stacks, add slow stacks to the enemies that are in. Shred armor stacks. This one is targeted bomb. While using a bow, you can shoot an arrow and detonates the smoke bomb at the target's location. So essentially, if you're standing outside of the smoke bomb, you can shoot it to blow up bombs. Armor shred is converted to poison resistance shred, poison chance. Then over here we got armor shred frequency, 25% per point, and then slow frequency. And then over here shadow damage, or shadow dagger, sorry, on slow. Up here, we're going to have radius, so it'll get bigger and the growth speed will be a little bit faster, so it'll grow with bigger and bigger. This is where you get a chance to be granted Dust Shroud each second for 2 seconds. Essentially, the longer you stay in there, the more you'll get. Essentially, Dust Shroud is a buff that grants you 5% glancing blow, 50% dodge, and it only, like I said here, it only lasts for 2 seconds. Then you're going to come over here, and then this is where you have a chance of getting more quicker. And then this allows your smoke bomb to grant your allies the Dust Shroud as well. Coming over here, we're getting a started area to where it starts up a lot faster. This one will grant a the initial bar applies frailty to enemies around you, so they do a little bit less damage to you. It only lasts for about 1 second, so if you wanted to, you can bump it up if you want. Essentially, it just per stack is going to do 6% less damage to you. Over here, it's going to be a night stack, so whenever you cast it, it will add ignite on enemies, 1 stack, or up to 5. And then we have decoys explode. So as soon as, like, if you have a decoy in the middle where it's pulling all the enemies in the middle of your smoke cloud, as soon as it does, once the smoke cloud ends, the decoy is gonna explode. Here, this allows leaving the smoke cloud early causes it to immediately catch fire and end. So it's like if you're in the smoke cloud and you want to catch them on fire, or you having to bail to get out of there, you can bounce out and it'll catch them on fire. It'll do fire damage to them and end it. And then you use Shadow Cascade when the smoke cloud ends, so it'll just be some to auto cast Shadow Cascade. Over here, you're going to be getting a burst. The initial burst consumes all shadows inside the smoke and grants you and allies health per shadow consumed this way, so it'll just give you like base up to a 300 health and then mana on this one. Down here is going to be Silver Shroud, which essentially when you get it, the initial burst grants you a stack of Silver Shroud, causing you to dodge the next hit and grants ward per stack. So I like having 1 point in here because it's nice to have it to where whenever I pop it, it'll make me dodge a hit and then it'll give me a ward. So essentially I can kind of not get hit once, and then the ward helps with like health regeneration to where you can take a hit through the ward without interrupting your health regeneration or just having a little bit more health there. I like having 1 point in there. It seems to be very helpful. This one, the initial burst cleanses all negative elements, and then the initial to where it cleanses it on your allies as well. Over here is going to be backflip away, so as soon as you cast it, you'll backflip out of it. This one will grant you Crimson Shroud, which gives you bleed chance, damage over time taken, negative 5%, up to 3 stacks, and it lasts for 4 seconds. Up here is base crit. This is for bow. Now, I haven't checked it out again because I know they were having an issue where this was actually working on melee too. But it is supposed, or at least the way it's worded, it is supposed to be for your bow attack. So base crit is increased, and you can get up to 10% base crit, which is pretty darn high for base crit for a skill. So this one is for your duration. Over here is going to give you increased melee damage and throw damage buff. So that's pretty decent. Over here it's going to give you melee and throw leech. Over here it's going to chance casting shadows for you. So I have it maxed out, so it's 100% chance going to be casting them each second, so that's gonna you can kind of play with that around to kind of see if you want 2, 3, or 4, whatever floats your boat, whichever one feels right for you. I just like having as many shadows as possible because as soon as I cast one of my skills that procs them, it does whatever it is all over the screen and does a pretty good job clearing stuff. And this one will be giving you Puncture bleed chance and Shuriken bleed chance while you're in it. So this can bump it up to 200%. Ballista, which I've tried to make a few build around this. I've got it to work where it does a lot of damage, like a ton of damage. It's great, and it's gonna be great for multiplayer. But the clunkiness as far as solo play, having to keep away from mobs and all that stuff, and having to use Decoy, and just it got too tedious to really enjoy. But like I said, it does a ton of damage. It can melt bosses. It's great, but it's just clearing and stuff. It gets kind of tedious. Going this way, mana cost 25% per point, so that can be up to negative 50, half off the mana cost, which starts at 44, so that I put it at 22. Over here, it's going to increase the damage and attack speed, but it's going to only last. It's going to last 25% less time, so it'll time out pretty quick. I was using that quite a bit, but they timed out a little bit earlier than what I would really be happy with. Here you'll get more attack speed but less damage. This will give you a chance of double shot, so you can have a chance of it shooting twice instead of once. And then armor shred chance. Over here it's going to be base crit, so that's where you'll get your crit chances, and then crit multiplier and crit chance effectiveness there. Over here it's going to be increased damage but less attack speed, so it's kind of which way you want to go with that. Here is going to be damage effectiveness, where it shares damage with you, so that's a pretty darn good node there. I would highlight, if you're going to do Ballista, to get that node at least. It does a pretty good deal of getting you a big boost. Up here is going to be enemies pierce, so you can do up to 5. Health, shields health. It puts a shield in front of it where it has a little bit more health on the Ballista, but they don't really target the Ballistas, so it's not really that big of a deal. The only reason like you really want them to have more health, I guess, would be bosses doing their frontal assaults and stuff like that, where it might be able to survive that a little bit more. But shields width, where you can make it a little bit bigger. Now, where is it? Okay. Now, as far as this only works with the main bolt. This doesn't work with the extra projectiles. So the ones that are fanned out, they're smaller, like arrows, not an actual bolt from the Ballista. Let's see here. Then we'll come down here to attack speed. Element effectiveness, so if you turn it into different elements, poison, whatever the case may be, it'll do a little bit more damage. Ballista gains frenzy, attack speed per hit, so the more it hits, the faster it goes until it dies off. Health and duration. Now, a lot of people like to go this way to get this, to where you have, to where it can potions to drop, where it can constantly be dropping potions for you, which is pretty nice for survivability. Then increased damage. Then down here to slow, poison chance from acid flask. Pull enemies to where it'll shoot a harpoon out and pull them to the Ballista to kind of keep them away from you. So it's only be every 5 seconds, so don't expect it to just like keep everything away from you. Over here, extra projectiles, 2 per point, and it's only at 25%, so putting more points isn't going to increase the chance, but you can bump that up to where you can have 6 extra projectiles, so 7 altogether. Then we got fire damage and ignite chance, so that'll be flat damage and ignite chance. Exploding bolts, so the main bolt itself will explode. Less attack speed though, quite a bit less. The fire explosion turns into cold damage, freeze rate of 80. Ignite turns into chill chance. This ballistas now essentially they will explode when they expire. So when they time out, they'll explode and do area damage. And this is a tripwire to where it'll have a tripwire between two, like if you put two of them within a reasonable close distance. A tripwire is formed between them, and enemies that cross the tripwire will cause both ballistas to explode. So, next is going to be Shuriken. This is a very fun skill that like I said, I'm building one right now. I'll probably have that out here in a few days. This one essentially starts out with throwing 3 weapons or 3 shurikens out in front of you. You can come over here to go for poison chance. This increases the hit damage per element stack, so however many you have on there, it'll increase it up to a max of 30%. This will give you bleed chance, additional shurikens, but it turns the mana cost from 3 to +3, so that'll be 6 for this, but instead of 3 you would have 5 shurikens. And then this one will have the shurikens and now be thrown at enemies all around you, so where it shoots them all around you from front to back and shoots them straight out. Which was I played it. It was interesting. It worked pretty well. Then we'll come up here, piercing chance, base crit chance and hit damage, critical multiplier, and then shurikens in a line, but projectiles it'll knock down how many you do. So if you have it up to 5, it'll kind of knock you down to like 3 or 2. Now this one is going to turn your shurikens into chakran. This increases its size, damage, and it makes it to where when you throw it, it will actually come back to you. But you can only throw 1. So then this will give you plus 10% per shuriken that you have out. So now you can keep throwing them, you just throw 1 at a time. So the more you have out, the more damage you're going to do with this one. Here is going to be the attack speed. Additional shuriken at an additional cost. Another 3 to it if you want to add that. So that would put you, if you had that one at the top, and this will put you at 7. Shurikens cast around you as a shield for 3 seconds. You can increase the duration here, and then the armor per point with that. Then this will be physical resistance chance or shred chance and poison resistance shred chance, and has chance of ricocheting, but it also costs 6 per point. Pierce chance turns into multiplier, which I have mine set up where I have 1 point here just to get that multiplier, because it turns pierce into multiplier. So with this, if you have that maxed out, that'll be 100% crit multiplier. So now, as far as play style, it's up to you if you like pierce. I'm waiting until once I get higher and get the gear lined up a bit, I'm gonna try out pierce. I'm gonna take the point out of here and then try pierce and see which one I like more. Then you come over here for flat damage for lightning damage, and then shock chance down here. Speed and range, damage, and mana cost, so you can lower the mana cost of the skill. This one will, every time you cast it, you'll back 5 away, cooldown every 5 seconds. So this will give you some haste duration and blind chance, and then immobilize duration. So you have a chance of immobilize them with that. Acid Flask essentially does a pool of poison and reducing their armor. Up here is damage 10% per point, haste chance, extra flasks but cost more mana, and then you now throw acid flasks in a fan in front of you instead of a line. So they'll kind of spread them out a little bit instead of just in a straight line. Increase the travel speed as well. Over here we got armor shred chance, global poison chance in pool. So when you're doing damage in there that's doing other damage, it can add poison chance for all your skills there while they're in the pool. Increase the pool duration, but also lowers the cooldown or increases the cooldown. Then pool duration, you can increase the pool duration, and infectious toxin chance 25% per point, so you can bump that up to 100%. Like I said, it does not stack, so it's just going to give you 10% more damage over time damage. Poison resistant shred chance 150%, which is pretty huge. So that's 600% if you have 4 points in there. Poison chance 15% per point. Give me 1 second. Sorry, a lot of talking. Poison duration, blind chance 50% per point, so up to 100%. Throwing speed, chance to drop flask when hit. So at your feet so every time an enemy hits you, if you max this out, that'll put you at 30% chance to do it for you. So the more they want to hit you, the more often that their chance dropping. Now it can only happen up to every 5 seconds, so don't just expect to just run through and just have it spam a bunch of pots or blasts down at your feet. This will give you more mana efficiency. Now this is going to be all your fire stuff, so this will be physical turn to fire, increase fire damage. When acid flask is thrown directly at when acid flask is thrown directly, it causes 3 smaller explosions around the impact area location, dealing fire damage on hit, but costs more mana, so it's gonna double so take it up to 20%. Granted, you're gonna have to have 4 points in here, so that's 40% mana efficiency. So that's probably gonna put you around maybe that's close to half off, so I meant that'll probably put you at about 11 or 12 mana. So nothing too bad there. Armor turns to fire resistant shred, ignite chance up to 100%. Over here, fire throwing damage, flat damage per point, and then increase crit chance and multiplier all in one node. So that'll be 200% crit chance and 200% multiplier. I actually might think about making one of these. I like doing fire skills, so that with that crit and all that stuff, that might actually work out pretty decent. Let's see here. Over here, throw speed, chance to. Oh, I already did all that. Slow appears travel speed, frailty chance, 50% per point, so up to 100% to do 1 stack, and then area damage or area of effect. Cinder Strike is a fire skill, melee or bow. Up here is going to be base fire damage. Second attack does even more base fire damage. This one is going to be first fire attack does 10% increased damage. First attack does 25% increased area. This is going to be no second or third attack, so just 1 cast, increased cost plus 40, so it costs 0, so it turned into 4. Um, so essentially this is going to make it to where it now only has a first attack, so it'll have more area, more damage, base, and first attack here, so you don't have to worry about doing the lower, you'll just keep doing the higher damage. And then mana efficiency here, just kind of get that mana back down. Over here is volatile fast chance. Cinder Strike first strike has a chance to throw a volatile flask at target's hit. Scales with increased fire and throw damage. So if you have fire or throw, you can put this on there to where it will the first strike will cost that. Now if you have that, you won't do any second hit, so you'll constantly be doing these explosions. Explosion damage plus 40% per point, and then explosions on kill chance 8% per point, so 8%, 32% altogether. So that'll be kind of halfway decent because you'll be doing explosion every hit, not every third or fourth hit. Over here we got blind with a bow, frailty with a melee weapon, attack speed. Blind is converted to critical vulnerability chance. This will be your multiplier and increased multiplier on the first hit. So you see the kind of pattern here. A lot of this stuff is kind of geared towards the first hit, but it is a 3-hit combo. So then coming over here, you're going to have fire shred chance. Burning dagger on use. If you use and hit at least one enemy with Cinder Strike, it consumes 8 mana, granting you a burning dagger that circles you for a second before launching at a nearby enemy. And then burning dagger damage 10% per point. Mana consumed lowers that down. Burning dagger's cone on first attack. You now throw 5 burning daggers in a cone in front of you, and then burning daggers cone from shadows, so they can actually, now that with this, the shadows can actually do it as well. Let's see here. Then we got ignite chance, ignite duration, first skill or first use. Flat fire damage and added flat or added fire damage per point. Crit strike chance and crit strike bonus. Now this one is just all together, not just like this one where it's just the first. It's a base of 15, but then the 30 is only for the first hit. This is going to be 3 and then 30 for everything, and then you can bump it up to 5. So that'll put it at 15 and 150 there, and that one could be higher multiplier, 15, 30, 60, 75, but then you're only going to get the bonus for that extra 30 on the first hit. Here, fire damage over time and poison converted to ignite chance. And this is poison chance from all sources. So, then you're going to have fire damage per stack, oil coating on hit, and that's what gives you, each stack's going to give you 5% increased damage per stack. Fire penetration, ignite effect, health gained, and mana gained per stack. Dodge rating and fire resistance per stack. And then fire is converted to elemental damage. And then this will also increase your throwing fire damage up to 5 per stack. Actually, that doesn't say per stack, so it'll probably just be plus 5 altogether if you max it out. Yep, already did all that. And last but not least, on the rogue base, we got the decoy. This is basically something you throw out, and it's gonna taunt enemies around it. This final explosion, 5%. Area gives a greater area for the explosion. Up here, you're gonna hit even more final damage explosion, but the duration is lowered. And Decoy leaves a shadow in its place when it detonates. Ignite stack applied. When it explodes, the explosion increases even more, but the mana cost is more. And then extra decoy to where you can have more than the base allotted out. I think you can only have 2 out to begin with. Here, let me see. I haven't used the decoy in a while, so. It's probably gonna time out before I can put, yeah. So, there we go. You would have to get the, yeah, you would probably just get another charge on that. This one will get mana efficiency, frailty stack applied. This essentially is going to emit a sonic wave when it appears, which inflicts frailty and then armor shred stacks. Haste duration, armor shred stacks applied, armor strike duration, fear chance. So instead of you're taunting them, and then fearing them, I guess, if you want to. I guess that would be kind of something to put like on top of you and have it keep them away from you, I guess. Armor is turned into fire resistance shred. Over here we have percent reflect, so the damage they do to it reflects. Maximum decoy charges +1, so you can have the extra charge, you can pop 2 down real quick. Duration is increased, but the cooldown is also increased. Dodge rating with active decoy, so give you some extra dodge rating if you have some out. Multiplier or crit multiplier per dodge chance. Ignite nearby enemies, increase the mana cost. Ignite frequency, and ignite turn to poison chance, and explosions replaced by acid flask. So this will actually cause you to cast acid flask for you, which can cause shadows to cast it and all kinds of other stuff. A big little chain reaction with all that. Small explosion chance 10%, and then max small explosion +1 per point. This will turn the fire into cold, ignite into chill, and the freeze rate is set at 60. This will give you a little bit more freeze multiplier. Over here, we're going to have all explosion damage increased by 15%. You can remote detonate. Decoy becomes a combo ability. The first cast creates it, and the second one detonates it. And yes, both casts do cost mana. And then the mana costs, you can put this in here to lower the mana costs. Alright, so that is it for the rogue skills. The next video will be going over the blade dancer, then I'll make another one for the marksman, and then I'll be covering all the classes, base and the specific subclasses going forward. So I do apologize about the long video, but there was quite a few skills for the base class to kind of cover and go over. Now, like I said, these are going to be to where you can use them between bow and melee. Some of them do work well together with the classes, so like Flurry can mix with marksman, also can mix with blade dancer. The smoke bomb kind of mixes well with both. Decoy can be used in a wide variety, more for like the marksman there. You can actually use Shuriken, these two, as main attacks. Even Puncture, there's a couple, like so there is a couple that builds out there for the Puncture. And the Ballista is going to be a big group play ability. So uh, definitely some. That's one thing I do love about the Rogue is there's a lot of versatility of build making for it. I think they did a really good job. Now, granted, some of it does need a little bit of tweaking, but other than that, I mean, it's still pretty decent release of a class with a lot of versatility of builds coming out for it, not kind of heavy on one side type deal. So there is quite a few different ways you can run it. And being the fact that you can do it with bow and melee for these skills, just makes it more versatile. So, but that is it for today. If you did like the video, please smash that like button. The other videos will be a bit shorter because they'll only be covering the 4, so those will be shorter like my normal videos. Like I said, I do apologize about the long video, but if you want to keep up with my reviews, my guides, my live streams, all that fun stuff, smash that subscribe button so you're notified when the next one comes out. And then also, Discord link is down below. Come join us, chit chat. We've got a great group of people down there to chat with, play with whenever multiplayer comes out, and to play other games if you play other games. So, like me for instance, I will be more than happy to come join you, come play with you. Other than that, you have yourself a great one, and I'll see you on the next one.